Now, when we talk about oxygen and carbon dioxide transport, very firstly, we will talk about transport of oxygen. So when I talk about transport of oxygen, we know that oxygen is least soluble in water. It is least soluble in water. And that is the reason only 3% of oxygen is transported in the dissolved form, whereas 97% of oxygen will be transported in the bound form along with the hemoglobin molecule. Hemoglobin, as we know, is a tetramer. It has two alpha and two beta chains. It's a quaternary structure. This टू अल्फा एंड टू बीटा ये चार जो होते हैं वो अगर कुछ इस प्रकार से हुए बेटा, यानी चार खाने हैं जहां पे ऑक्सीजन जाके बाइंड कर सकता है, लेकिन जनरली हीमोग्लोबिन ऑक्सीजन या किसी को भी बाइंड करना नहीं चाहता। हावेवर जैसे ही पहला ऑक्सीजन बाइंड हो जाएगा तो बाकी तीनों के अफिनिटीज चेंज हो जाते हैं, तो बाकी तीन भी फटाफट अब ऑक्सीजन को बाइंड करने लगेंगे एंड द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ हीमोग्लोबिन गेट्स सैचुरेटेड। तो इफ आई हैव टू identify this, or if I have to give this as a graphical representation, initially the binding is slow, but post that it increases drastically and then ultimately reaches at the stationary phase. So it slowly and gradually increases, and at some point it reaches at 100% saturation level. All right, beta. This is called as oxygen dissociation curve. Now, if an oxygen has to bind to the, if a hemoglobin has to bind to oxygen, for that reason, the concentration of oxygen has to be very, very high. And concentration of carbon dioxide has to be low. जब कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड कम होगा, टेम्परेचर भी कम होगा और हाइड्रोजन आयन भी कम होंगे, यानी पीएच जो है वो अल्कलाइन होगा, तब ऑक्सीजन जो है वो काफी अच्छी तरीके से बाइंड हो जाता है हीमोग्लोबिन पे। तो इस समय पे क्योंकि कम ऑक्सीजन में भी वो फटाफट बाइंड कर लेता है, तो ऑटोमेटिकली ये ग्राफ जो है वो पीछे की तरफ शिफ्ट हो जाता है कुछ इस प्रकार से, इट विल शिफ्ट टुवर्ड्स लेफ्ट व्हेन द ऑक्सीजन प्रेशर इज high and CO2 pressure is low. This is CO2, right? This is CO2 is low. And when CO2 pressure is high, oxygen pressure is low, oxygen will automatically get dissociated from the hemoglobin and carbon dioxide will go and get binded towards it. So here the graph will shift towards right. Wherein oxygen is low, pH is acidic, carbon dioxide is high, temperature is high, as well as hydrogen ion is also high. All right. I hope the concept is clear so far. Right. So remember that P50 is nothing but partial pressure is inversely proportional towards its affinity. When we talk about affinity of hemoglobin, the affinity of hemoglobin towards oxygen is highest, post that it is carbon dioxide, and post that it is carbon monoxide. All right. Now, when it gets dissolved inside the water, when oxygen is getting dissolved inside the water and getting transported, at every 100 ml of oxygen, 5 at every 100 ml of blood, 5 ml of oxygen gets transported or delivered to the tissue. Likewise, when we talk about transport of carbon dioxide, so it is highly soluble in water. It is highly soluble in water, and that's the reason 7% is found directly in the dissolved form. 23% is found in as to be bound in the hemoglobin form, and 70% of carbon dioxide will be found as bicarbonate form inside the blood vessels. Now, when we talk about things in blood vessels, how and what exactly happens? तो सिनेरियो क्या होता है बेटा, जब CO2 हमारे ब्लड में आ जाता है, when CO2 comes inside the blood, that particular CO2 will combine with water molecule with the help of uh, carbonic anhydrase enzyme. It will get combined with the help of carbonic anhydrase enzyme as mentioned over here. This carbonic anhydrase enzyme will convert the water and carbon dioxide into carbonic acid. Okay, and this carbonic acid further gets broken down to hydrogen ions, and HCO3 minus, that is bicarbonate. तो बाइकार्बोनिक एसिड जो है उसको बाइकार्बोनेट में कन्वर्ट करने का काम भी कार्बोनिक एनहाइड्रस एंजाइम ही करता है। वही सेम एंजाइम ये काम भी करेगा। ठीक है। अब सिनेरियो क्या होता है, ये जो हाइड्रोजन रिलीज हुआ वो हाइड्रोजन अंदर का टेम्परेचर भी बढ़ाता है और अंदर का पीएच को एसिडिक बना देगा, जिस वजह से आरबीसी के मेम्ब्रेन का परमिटिविटी चेंज हो जाता है। तो हाइड्रोजन जो है वो बाहर आ जाएगा एंड इट विल सॉरी बाइकार्बोनेट जो है वो बाहर आ जाएगा और बाहर आके इट विल कंबाइन विद NaCl और इट विल रिएक्ट विद NaCl टू फॉर्म sodium bicarbonate and chloride ions will be released. This released chloride ions will enter inside to balance the negative energy that we have or the electronegativity that has been unbalanced over here. Okay, this will happen where? So this will happen when the carbon dioxide is moving from tissue to blood vessels. All right. Along with that, this carbon dioxide will also bind to hemoglobin to form carb-aminohemoglobin, and 7% of carbon dioxide will be found in the dissolved form. Okay. This is called as chloride ion shift या Hamburger's phenomenon to maintain the ionic equilibrium. When we talk about at alveoli region, तो alveoli में क्या होता है कि बाहर कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड कम है और अंदर ब्लड वेसल्स में कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड ज्यादा है। अब इस कारण की वजह से अंदर का जो पीएच होता है वो कम होना शुरू हो जाएगा। तो यहाँ पर क्या हो जाएगा, NaCl जो है वो टूटना शुरू हो जाएगा। सोडियम बाइकार्बोनेट सबसे पहले जो है वो टूट जाएगा और वो मेंटेन करने का कोशिश करने की वजह से वो टूट जाता है। तो सोडियम इज रिलीज एंड बाइकार्बोनेट एंटर्स इनसाइड द RBC. तो क्लोराइड will come outside and bind to NaCl, forming salt again to maintain the osmolarity. This bicarbonate will combine with hydrogen ions to form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid will further get broken down to give carbon dioxide and water, and this carbon dioxide will be given outside in the alveolar back again. All right. So at every 100 ml of deoxygenated blood, 4 ml of carbon dioxide will be transported. This what is happening at the tissue for transport of oxygen is called as Bohr's effect, where the graph is moving towards right. And this, what is happening towards alveoli, is called as Haldane effect, where the graph will move towards left. All right. Now,